many words on that. Remember that content slide doesn't count in the word count, if I remember rightly. Right, then she's into it. Right, she's explained the brand Tesco. She hasn't spent too long. She hasn't used up a lot of words. She's introduced what Tesco are, family brand, UK's leading supermarket. I'm going to have a look at these campaigns. Great. The only thing I might have done there is I might have had an academic definition of what a brand is. I might have done. I'm not saying it's absolutely compulsory, but I might have done. Right, here's the good stuff then, guys. So it's quite hard. I'll try and share the two. So she's looking at the brand message and the logo. So she looked at the logo of Tesco, and she talked about how it's. We looked at this in the lecture this week. She talks about how it's confirmed it to memory through things like repetition and recall, and how many times it's used. And then she talks about repeatedly exposing the brand and the tagline to the consumer, constant exposure of the brand. Tesco's adverts appear with the logo at the start and the logo at the end. Talk about that in this week's lecture. And then she's talking about this idea that brands have a cluster of meanings. We haven't really touched upon that. I think this student has done branding. You wouldn't need to bring that in necessarily. This is about psychological concepts. But yeah, then she's touching upon emotions. So all that's good, that looks good. The slide itself looks really smart, guys. Arrows coming off it, etc. Right, next one. Sorry. I really like this. So that's the first slide, Tesco. Next one, I like this one, guys. Just a nice, simple slide. There's Mr. Blobby, which was from Noel's House Party in the 1990s. Prices that take you back. Then you've got old prices there. She's using nostalgia. She's explaining the emotional value, and she's linking it with nostalgia. She's explaining that nostalgia often uses cult figures of past decades. Quite sad, isn't it, that this was a cult figure. She explains how nostalgia evokes certain feelings, happiness, a return to better times. She's explaining that we sometimes filter out negative thoughts, emotional value linked with nostalgia, memory. Again, bringing in, look at this. This is what I love about this one. She's able, and this is how you get a first, really. She's able to take a concept like nostalgia, interlink it with emotions, at the same time interlink it with memory as well, which again we've done this week in the lecture. And then she's giving me a bit about the music that was used in the advert. It's just excellent, folks, just excellent. She's explaining about the success. So then look at the bottom bit. Nevertheless, this didn't appear to hinder the success. So she said that incorporating the music might not have been everybody's preference. However, there's my favourite word in academia, nevertheless, or however. It means I'm going to give you a different viewpoint now. Brilliant. Next one, guys, David, hot or not chicken curry. And she talks about here, again, we talked about in this week's lecture, source credibility. She's talking about the views of real, authentic consumer, and that gives it source credibility. She talks about storytelling, and again, it's tapping into emotions. In this campaign, Tesco tap into evolutionary psychology. So she's going back to week 1. She's explaining a little bit around evolutionary psychology, the impressions that we make, and how this campaign was particularly targeted at men, and she explains that. And then it's a bit tenuous, this one, this creation of the desired self. I think she's perhaps pushing it a little bit far there. But we're going to have a look at the desired self later. But again, guys, she's talking about the success of the campaign. It contributed £700 million in revenue. I presume it was this Food Love Stories campaign. Really good. Then this one, again, the slides are really good, but could it have had some arrow? Let me just double check. Yeah, could it have had some things coming off it? Possibly. But maybe less is more. And again, she's talking about these food love stories, folks. She's talking about emotional connections that we create with the brand using real consumers. And so again, she's bringing in a little bit of emotional evolutionary psychology and how they incorporate these techniques. And then, however, Tesco emphasised factors of the products being sold. So she says that one of the problems with the advert is this obsession with showing the products rather than telling stories. And she says that it's lacking a bit of human emotion. She feels the products are a bit too center screen. I think that's a really good piece of evaluation. Brilliant. Right, that was good. The Tesco one's good, really good in fact. The analysis of that slide particularly is excellent. I think she's pushing it a bit with the self bit at there, but there's some interesting bits in there. Right, now let's move on to the next campaign. The NHS. Again, guys, she's explained what the NHS is in terms of an organisation and a brand. Good. Then she's looking at this smoke-free campaign, and what you might not be able to see because the zoom bit is over it, but she's got arrows here coming off and she's explaining it. Visual evidence here fear and disgust triggers other emotions. And here she's explaining the concept in the square at the side. I'll just see if I can show it. Yeah, unfortunately my Zoom doesn't show it. But yeah, anyway, I can show you another time. But yeah, she's then explaining what fear is, how disgust trigger emotions and from change. Fear appeals are a useful technique to change behaviours. And then if you remember it, we looked at the threat versus efficacy. It was the Perloff model, the parallel processing model. She starts to bring that concept in as well. And then she says, fear appeals have been problematic. Oh, I'm in heaven now. She's telling me the right thing. She isn't just saying fear is great. She's now saying, look, there's issues around using fear as well, and it might not appeal to every consumer. It might put consumers off. It might have the opposite effect of what you want to do, reduce the likelihood of change. And then she talks about how the NHS have incorporated fear in other campaigns as well. This really is absolutely superb. It's absolutely first class. Yeah. Then she moves into, again, she's sticking with the NHS, so this call 11, the call 11 hotline if you're not feeling so good. And she talks again about storytelling and use of emotions in marketing. Then she's talking about, guys, brilliant, the elaboration likelihood model, central root thinking, really good. And we're going to have a look at this, don't worry, we're going to look at this in week 9 or 10. She's talking about how it uses a bit of humour as well. And then she's got the success rates of the advert, how successful was it, and how did it work. Brilliant. It made an 11% increase in 111 calls compared to 2018. She's evaluating the campaign, great. This slide is first class. So this is what I said to you a couple of weeks ago. She's got the campaign on one half of it, and then she's got the model on the other. So it's the threat and efficacy model, the extended parallel processing model. She's used it over 2 slides, but that's fine. She's using it really well. And occasionally you might want to think about doing that, having the concept of the model there. Then she's got the advert there, drop a drink size, and she's got all of the arrows coming off explaining how it works. It's just really good. She talks about then about visual and written. When we see something, we might commit it to memory better. She talks about how they're focused on metaphors, made it appealing. Yeah, it's just a really excellent slide again. However, metaphors in marketing are found to hide just as much as they explain. This is what I mean about the evaluation. It's absolutely superb. Yeah, really good. Then she's talking about self-affirmation and self-efficacy. Yeah, really good. All of you are capable of this. Don't be scared. You can do this. Then again, she's sticking with the NHS, and this is what I mean. This is what I said to you. What you might, she's done the greatest hits of the NHS, if you like. She's picked 4 big campaigns and she's analysed them. Don't feel you have to do that. You could have probably just picked the smoke-free campaign and analysed that. What I would have liked to see is maybe things like, did it get any public relations? Was there any newspaper? Did the newspapers cover it? Did a talk show host cover it? Did it appear on the radio? I'd like to have maybe seen a little bit of that, because it will have done. I'd like to have seen you extend that as well. But then again, she's going back to fear and guilt and shame and how it's used. And as mentioned previously, so I don't mind just coming back to the concept, fear and guilt and shame is being used. It triggers emotions, so she's bringing in emotions. It'll trigger guilt. She's talking about how the NHS uses guilt. And the figures show the number of smokers in the UK dropping by 1 million compared to 2019. I'd be critical there, though. I don't think it's just all about advertising that's done that. I'd say also this comes at a time when we saw the smoking ban come in and something else happened and this happened and society kind of had disdain against smoking. So I think that's where you maybe take the criticality further. But look, I'm really being picky here. It's an outstanding piece of work, it really is. And then there's a little bit of a conclusion at the end saying something like, it's important that psychological techniques are used with brands. Then guys, just to have a look. Bibliography, all in alphabetical order, all correctly researched, the name of the academic, the year, the name of the paper, then the journal itself and the page number. Yeah, great. Blimey. I mean, it's very thorough, very thorough. Don't be scared about that. I've equally seen in presentations, I don't believe she's read all of these. Sorry, I'm not being fair, am I? That's not fair to say, actually. What I would say, that is that I've equally seen outstanding presentations with 2 slides of references. I think I'm not quite sure. That's more than what you get in an academic paper, a top tier reviewed paper. I'm not quite sure you need as many as that, guys. Two pages of relevant references would probably be fine. Yeah, but overall, I'm not taking anything away from the student. I knew that, and I taught the student on the module as well, and she was excellent, consistent on every module. So, but you're all capable of this. We don't want to be doing that first one, guys. I'd be disappointed if